And we can cut anything, right? And
Okay. Let
so
me know.
if you want to start over, say
Yeah.
I'm going to start that answer over. But Laura, thank you so much for volunteering to come up here
You're
today
welcome.
and talk to us about the role or the changes in your sport from the judge or official perspective. So I'm going to ask you a few questions right off the bat. Can you introduce yourself to everyone and your background? How did you become a judge in synchronized swimming really quick?
Sure. So my name is Laura Money, and I started the sport of synchronized swimming when I was 11. And I just fell in love with it from the beginning. And then once I turned 18, I decided to get into coaching. And then I realized that a career in coaching wasn't for me, but I still loved it as my passion. So I thought, well, I'll give my hand at judging. I'll still stay in the sport with a little bit less consistent time commitment and just put in the volunteer hours. So I got into judging and fell in love with it. And just recently achieved my level 3
Nice.
judging status. So I'm really excited to start being able to judge throughout Canada. And that's how I kind of got into it. So I think I've been a judge now for about 8 years,
Wow.
coaching for about 12, and then swimming for a lot more than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So can you contrast the old judging system with the new one that your sport has pioneered to build this sense of meaningful competition for athletes?
Sure. I'll speak of one specific example where I think I've noticed at least the biggest change, and that's in our figure competition, where the athletes do individual elements in front of a panel of judges. And previously, we would have about a panel of 5 judges who would look at the overall design and control of the figure and assign 1 mark on a scale of 0 to 10. And the athletes would go away with that combined 1 mark. So now with the LTAD model in place, we've actually, instead of assigning 1 mark, we've broken that mark down into components. And so we have 3 judges currently looking at 3 different areas of that mark. 1 around accuracy, 1 around extension, and 1 around control. And so the athlete's actually getting 3 different marks from 3 different judges looking at 3 different things. So that's kind of the biggest difference, and sometimes those marks range quite differently than previously. Because previously our mark might have been a little bit more central or kind of similar, but now the range could be really big depending on if that athlete has stronger strength in, say, extension over control.
Awesome. And what do you think that does for an athlete to get those 3 marks rather than the 1 condensed global score?
Well, I can only make an assumption, but so an athlete probably will tell you a little bit better. But from my perspective and as an official, by breaking down the mark, I'm assuming that athletes will be able to identify where their strengths are and where their areas of improvement are. So hopefully that's going to make that the mark a little bit more meaningful for them, because then they'll know, and the coaches will know where they need to maybe put a little bit more training or skill development or effort in, instead of getting this kind of overall score, which could be a little bit more confusing on what they did well on and what they did a little bit more challenging area of the figure.
Awesome. So as a judge, how has this changed your experience?
Well, like anything new, change can always be challenging, but I'm a firm believer in like learning and development is constant, and so my skills are always being developed and refined. So in the previous model, you're considering all these elements when you're looking at and evaluating a figure or a routine. And now I really have to almost compartmentalize those different areas of that mark and really hone in my skills in one part of the figure, which can be challenging because you're influenced by so many other aspects of what's going on. So I think for me, what I've been challenged with is really not taking the overall figure into consideration or the overall routine, but really trying to hone in on that one component of the mark, say for example extension, and really being able to provide the athlete with the best representation of that extension on the scale.
Wow, that's great. What would you tell someone who thinks that athletes at all ages should be evaluated the same way as they are on the Olympic stage in your sport?
Well, I think with development, there's so many different levels, there's so many different stages. A child's body and mental state is so much different than an adult's body and mental state. And therefore, I think being able to break down our marks and being able to tell the younger athletes where they have those strengths and where they have those areas of improvement can really help them with their long-term skill and development, so that when they are adults, they can focus on the bigger picture rather than the smaller areas in which they're kind of currently being evaluated. So to me, it's kind of apples and oranges. I really feel like you can provide more meaningful marking to younger athletes at this level, and that they should be treated a little bit different because they're at a different developmental stage in their career.
Awesome. Yeah.